Hello and welcome to this demo video for the LinkedIn follow-up schedule. Now, I've received a lot of inquiries of late for this kind of thing after a few posts about LinkedIn messaging and people prospecting on LinkedIn and that kind of thing. And so I thought I'd make a standard copy, something that I could put in the store that wouldn't necessarily capture everybody's approach, but it will capture what I found to be the vast majority of call them tactics that people use when prospecting on LinkedIn. So let me explain how this works, and then you'll see what I mean by the tactic and if this works for you. So this is for people who want to connect with new people on LinkedIn and then message them and have a little bit of a chat via message, and then eventually ask them if they want to have a call or a Zoom meeting or whatever else it may be. And this takes you through the process to help you remember who's done what, who said what, and when it's happened and all the rest of it. So I shall show you how it works. The categories are the first thing that you can list. You can list up to 10 categories. This can be whatever you want. It's not even necessarily vital for the spreadsheet. All it does is on the report, it breaks it down per category. So for argument's sake, if you've got different kinds of clients that you're prospecting to, maybe with different services, you could have your services as categories. If you've got different products that you're trying to pitch and you think someone may be interested in a certain product, that could be a category. Maybe there are different industries that you're pitching to, which means the categories could be industries. It really doesn't matter what it is. All it does is it gives you a breakdown on your report as to how many from each of these things you've had. So however you want to categorize them, that will be useful for your analytics and useful for you to know, you can list up to 10 categories. Just don't have any duplicates. The next one is results. Now the results is slightly more important, because what the result is what is the end result of your follow-up. So for argument's sake, you may follow up for the first person, they may email you back straight away saying, I'm not interested, don't bother me anymore. In which case that result could be, I don't know, you could call it rejection, you could call it decline, you can call it no, whatever it is you want to call it. You may have someone who says, well, actually, I might only be ready in 3 months. Then you may have one that's called wait or on hold or not yet or something like that. And you may have someone else who goes, heck yes, let's have a call tomorrow. So you can list up to 10 potential results that could end the conversation effectively, and list those in here. And then not only list them, but then next to each one, select an appropriate color. So there are only 3 colors, green, yellow, and red. And what that means is green is for anything positive, yellow is for anything neutral, and red would be for anything negative. So an outright rejection, for example, would be red, an outright acceptance would be green, and a not quite yet, but maybe in 3 months, maybe a yellow. So you can list up to 10 results and then select the color for each one of those. That'll pop up on the graph, so as to how what kind of, I don't know, call it status each of these answers has. And then the last thing are just the warnings. So this is the process. We go from the initial message to a follow-up if you don't have if the person doesn't reply to your initial message, to the message reply, to the initial reply when the person replies to you, the second message, if no reply, a follow-up, to the second reply, and then a call request or a meeting request or whatever it might be, if they don't reply, and then a final decision. So those are the stages. So what you can do is you can list how many days, and these are all days, so it includes weekends and bank holidays or anything else, how many days between those two you want to leave before it flags up to go, you should do this. So the whole idea of this is to initially message the person once you've connected with them, message them. The first message, many people do stick a sales message right in the first message, but that often doesn't go down well. So what people are saying now, people generally tend to do, is do the initial message, and then the second message being something more about the person or something as a follow-up to that message, and then only launch into a request for a call. So this takes you through that process, and you can put down how many days between each stage. So then what it'll do is it'll warn you when that next stage is due. Now some of them, for example, the second reply, the initial reply, and then the final decision are based on, well, the final decision may not be based on the client because they may not get back to you and you might just write it off. But at least definitely the initial reply and the second reply are down to the client or the potential client, the lead should we call them, coming back to you. So those two won't necessarily turn red to tell you but they will turn blue to tell you that they're overdue. So you can then, it's not necessarily your responsibility to follow up, but it just warns you that they haven't got back to you so that you can make a decision. So yeah, number of days. And then lastly, the number of days for alert. So what will happen is, if I say, for example, the initial message to no reply is 5 days, then 5 days after the initial message, it'll flag up to go, this is due today. A follow-up message is due today. Now, if you want a warning just before it's due, you can put this in. So if I put number 1 in there, then what happens is 1 day before, so after 4 days, it'll flag up yellow saying this is coming up. And then on the day, it'll change orange to go, this is due today. So you can just put how many days before these days does an alert pop up. So if you've got this as 3, I wouldn't put that as 5 because it's going to go back before you've even done the previous task. So have this number of days before a lesser number than these ones up here. So that's your setup. Once you've set that up, you can come and change these during the course of using the spreadsheet. That's fine. You can add new results on as well. You can even add new categories if you want. Just make sure that if you change any categories or results, then make sure that you go back to your leads and dates and just correct any that are no longer valid. They will flag up. So that's your settings. Once you've done that, you're ready to go. This is your main data entry tab, and as you can see, there's a whole bunch of colors going on here. I'll explain what's going on there in a minute. But let's just start a new line so that you can see. When you add in a new lead, so you can put the person's name in there from LinkedIn, because the whole idea behind this is that if you've got their name, when you want to see what the last message is, you can open up your LinkedIn messenger and put their name in and search, and you'll find them. The problem is when you're doing this for 20 people and you've got other messages going on, these messages tend to push down your inbox in LinkedIn and tend to kind of go missing. And that's what the spreadsheet helps you to monitor. We don't keep track of any of the actual conversations on here. You'll go back to LinkedIn to find that. This just monitors the dates. So as soon as you put in lead 6, you can then select what category it is, what category that person is, but depending on your categories that you've selected. Now it's orange, which means this is due today because it wants your initial message date, because you'd only fill this in when you do the initial message. So if you click on the drop down list, it gives you today's date, so you can just simply select it. Now it goes green because the no reply message, you haven't reached that date yet. So it's still green, so it's all good and everything's active and you're going along. This one is in blue, that one is in red, and these ones green and yellow, but a lighter green and yellow. Now the lighter green and yellow means that they're complete, and based on the result that's been selected, that's what color it's changed to. Remember, on your settings, you put these colors in next to the results. When I select those results, it turns red, yellow, or green. So if I selected result 5, it would turn red. So those ones, the lighter ones, are completed. You don't have to worry about them anymore. The darker ones, the bolder colors, are all active. Now this one is overdue. This one is also overdue, but it's overdue from the client's point of view or the lead's point of view, and this one's on track. So I'll come back to this in a second. All you do really is just fill in each date as you go along. Now you don't have to fill in a no reply message if there wasn't one. So if I send this person a message today and they come straight back to me with a reply, I can simply go and select today's date and it moves along. For the next one, it ignores that no reply. You don't need to fill in every step. If this goes from your first message and you get a reply and that person tells you, forget it, I'm not interested, you can come in here and give them a negative result and boom, it closes the whole thing off. But otherwise, it carries on and warns you of the next task. And that's all you really need to do. The other thing is when there's a drop-down list, you can select today's date. I put in to make it easier. If you come in and you realize, well, actually, I did message him yesterday, but I forgot to put in the spreadsheet, then all you need to do is just type in the date, 24th of Jan, and click enter, and it overrides it overrides today's date. That's not a problem. I've just put today's date in there to select it if it's easier. Otherwise, you can just type it in. So there you've got those ones going on. This one, as I said, would be overdue. This one needs a result. It's gone, well, actually, you sent the no reply message 6 days ago. It's overdue. What do you want to do with this? Now, what you could do in theory is you could send another message. If you thought, well, this lead was quite promising, you want to send another message, you can send another message and then just simply override this date with today's date, and then it goes green again because it puts you back on track. So there's no space to keep 4 or 5 no reply messages, but you can override them and it just resets that whole line. If you go, well, actually, this one, there is a date of a result. I got the result today. Then it says, well, what is that result? And you can go, well, it's result 3 or whatever it is, and then it changes color for the it changes color to the respective color. These blue ones, so the blue and the red ones, they're overdue. If this one was the 20th of Jan, it'll turn orange because then that's due today. So, and if it was the 21st of Jan, the last one, then it would turn yellow because that's coming up. So yellow means that something's about to happen, and that's the number of days you said here on that one, the number of days before the date. So that one flags up to warn you of an alert. When it's on the date, it turns orange, and obviously when it's overdue, because this is the lead's responsibility, it turns blue, and when it's your responsibility, it turns red. Otherwise, if it's still active and well on target, then it stays green. Now, imagine I've left you, what, 2,000 rows. Now, I mean, imagine you've got 100 of these lines and it's all kind of confusing, and what do we do? What do I need to do now? What do I need to do next? And scrolling through looking for all these different colors. If you go to the task list, it lists them in urgency order. So it'll put the ones at the top that are more urgent, and then it'll put the ones down towards the bottom that are less urgent. Not only that, but you can filter. So if you have a look down the right hand side here, it's got the stage. Now this is the stage of the next task that's due. So if the next task that's due is an initial no reply or initial reply, second message, second no reply, so on and so forth. So here are all the different next stages. Here are the alerts, the active, alert, due, stale, and overdue. And then you've got your categories as well. So you can filter by any of these things. So if I say, for example, I'm not interested in the active or alerts or the dues, all I want to have a look at are the overdues. If you select overdue, that all goes away because it's not doing all, it's just doing overdues. Now you only see the overdues. If you say, well, I want the overdues and stales, now you'll see the overdue and the stales. If you want all of them, just simply clear all of those aspects and click all, and you'll bring through everything. So you can filter by stage, the next stage, the alert, the current alert, or the category that you've assigned to. So you can filter for specific things here if you've got a whole long list. The other thing is, if you go down below the end of the page, so if this last one's filled in and there's more to go, then what will happen is it'll say page 1 of 2, and then you can select page 2. You can put in here and simply select page 2. They go away because there's nothing on page 2. And then you can see the second page. So this is automated. You can come in here and look at the tasks that you need to do. You can't fill them in here. You can't fill in here the next date. What you would do then is you could then go back to this page and fill it in. So if you've got this and you've got the leads names, if you come back to this tab and you sort this A to Z, then you can have the leads in alphabetical order. So when you come here and you see who the next lead is, what you need to do, you can simply come here and fill in the date on that respective lead. So that's your task list. That updates automatically. Your report also updates automatically. What you can do, see here is here all your alerts. There's 1 overdue, 1 stale, 1 active. You can see what's coming up. You can also see the count by next stage. So what is the next stage? How many of each of these have you got approaching the next stage? You can do a count by category. There's the a graph for the count by category. You can also see the breakdown of the results. So you can see there are 2 green categories because we've got 2 different results, result 1 and result 2, but both colored in green. So you can see that breakdown. This is blank because this is from the archive tab. I'll get to that in a second. Here you can see the number of days, the average number of days taken between all these stages, and the average number of leads needing a reminder at each stage. And here you can see your average time taken at each stage and your allocated time. So you can see if any of these particular stages are normally taking longer than what you've allocated for. You can maybe change the allocation time. And then at the bottom here, you've got to count by category. This is the archive data. The one at the top here is your leads and dates tab. And this is for your archives tabs. And this one here just shows a relationship between the different categories and the results. So you may find actually a lot of the category 1s are ending up in positive results. A lot of the category 5s are ending up in negative results. And it just shows you the number. And these values here are the leads and dates as well as the archive tab. So this report updates automatically as you go along. You can't do anything on here. You don't have to do anything on here. It updates as you enter data on this tab. The last one is your archive tab. Now, your archive tab, bearing in mind that these values here, the completed ones, do obviously go through to the report, and there's more reporting done on them when they're on this tab. However, when this starts to fill up and you've now got 500 of these completed tasks, it may be a bit of a pain to find the active ones when you've got all the completed ones on here. So if you simply come to select result and go A to Z, that'll bring all the results to the top. So then what you can do at some point, if you want to, is you can simply select that. I forgot to mention there's a notes column at the end. That's just for a note or two if you want to type something in there. If you copy that, go to your archive, right click, paste values. Not normal paste. Normal paste will paste all the formulas and functions and conditional formatting and everything else that's in there. You don't want to do that. You want to do paste values, just simply to paste a value so you can store this data. And if you click paste values, then what you can do is you can come back to the leads, right click, clear contents, and then just sort by lead name again, A to Z. Now what you've done is you've got rid of all those blank ones. They're all on here. They're all completed. You can sort that as well if you want to. And then when you go back to your report, you see now that one's empty because there are no completed ones. And here you've got your archived results. So you see those values there have disappeared because you've lost those values because the archive report isn't actually reporting onto that graph. So that's what I mean by it doesn't do as much reporting. So my suggestion would be to leave these. I'm actually going to put them back again. If you do want to put them back, you can just simply go back to reverse the process, paste values. You'll see they'll change color accordingly. You can go back to the archive, clear contents, and then lead and sort A to Z. So if you are interested in these reports, especially this one here with the time taken, then leave them on here for as long as you can. But when they start to fill up, because as you've only got 2,000 rows, on the archive I've left 10,000 rows, so you can put quite a few back onto there again as you fill this tab up. But really that's it. It's quite simple. Just fill in the next date as you go along the process. So the first one being the initial message. If you don't get a reply, follow up. If you do another follow up, just replace that date. When you get a reply, put the date in. At any stage, you can select the result to close that line off, especially if it's a negative one, because you may get that one quite early on. If you do then send a second message, if you don't get a reply, if your message, when you do get a reply to that second message, then when you request a call or a meeting or whatever it is that you do, if you don't get a reply, follow up, again, replace it if necessary, and then when you eventually have to pick a result, put the date in and pick a result. And then, if I just come and pick a result, it then says, okay, yeah, but that's great, but what was the date of that result? It just needs to know that date as well. And then at any stage, as I said, you can put some notes in for each of these lines, just a very short few words just to remind you of something if need be. And I think that's it. That is the LinkedIn follow-up schedule. As I said, I've got quite a few requests for this type of thing. So if you want something ready-made and you want something that you don't have to think about what your process is and how you do it. If you've got a specific process and this doesn't fit it, please do get hold of me, because I'm happy to make custom options, custom solutions like this. But yeah, if you want something off the shelf and you just want to kind of keep on top of this and you don't want something specifically made, then hopefully this will do the job for you. And yeah, I wish you all the best with your LinkedIn marketing. Thank you very much and goodbye.